Obviously, the elephant in the room is that we've all been impacted by COVID in certain ways. And I guess, obviously, the arts industry is failing miserably. I'd love to hear from each of you how you've been impacted. I know for me, at the start of the year, it was a good year back in TV. So I'd had about 12 months off of TV. And then all of a sudden I got a call and I was hosting a game show and I had a couple of producer gigs lined up, and it was looking like the next 12 months of 2020 were going to be really lucrative and really fun and really creative. And then March rolled around and, well, here we are. My show got axed and I've made a career pivot into a completely different way of life. But what about for you guys? I know, Grace, you got a TV show out of COVID.
Yeah, I was really lucky because I'm in my second year of freelance, which is just the worst, but also the best. And so in COVID, I was like, well, this sucks. And then got a call of like, hey, we're going to do a COVID style shot at home kind of kids show, which was super, super like amazing, such a blessing. And now that's gone and I'm like, okay, well, back to just being like, oh, I'm a freelancer, so this is fun. It's my everyday life.
How long did it go for? What do you mean it's gone?
It was a 6-week gig. So it was 6
Yeah, okay.
weeks. And then nothing.
You filmed all of it from home, right? So is that the first time you had to do the full production by yourself?
Yeah, crazy. So it was full they brought all this stuff to my house, just like props, to be like, your house is boring because it doesn't look like a kid's house. And I'm like, yes, well, that's because I'm 25.
What does a kid's house look like?
They're just like colour. And now I'm to just white walls. Yeah, exactly.
Sure has got it covered. He's ready to rumble.
This is a kid's house.
Well, Grace, if it makes you feel any better, I had the same experience because I just moved into my apartment and they were like, Shura is absolutely ready to go.
I'm ready up for the kids' house.
Hey, props at home.
I had the same thing. I had to like literally build a whole new wall because they were like, you've got nothing on your walls. But I've moved to a new apartment, so I feel your pain when it's like your house is boring and it's not good enough for our new show. And you're like, well, cool, you can buy me stuff and I'll put it on my walls and then it'll look amazing.
You have an awesome story about set dressing, interviewing Jerry Seinfeld, huh?
Yeah, well, basically I had to interview him. Seinfeld's not easy. He can be great and he can be hard, depending on what day you get him. Because he's like every other comedian. They're not just going to give you gold in an interview, especially those junkets where you've got 7 minutes with them. So I was pumped because I'm a big Jerry fan. Love him. So I was so excited. I didn't really know how to like go into this interview. And I'm in this, how they do junkets now is very bizarre in these COVID times. So they use a Zoom chat room where they have all the hosts from different shows and you're in a communal room. You've got like 60 of you, like little heads lined up and they're like, Scott? I'm like, yeah, I'm here. And they're like, they're doing a roll call. Then they send you a link. Yeah, they send you another link to then go into a holding room where you're there awkwardly for like 10 minutes and it's silent. But you know you're on any second. As soon as that screen opens up, Jerry's there. And you're kind of like, all right, here we go any minute now. So while I was in that holding room, I was quickly reading an article from the day before from the New York Times. And they interviewed him and they were like, Jerry, how do you feel about all these shows at the moment broadcasting from home? And he's like, I hate it. He goes, I think it's shit. And they're like, why? And he goes, because I'm sick of looking into celebrities' homes. The more interesting their home, the more boring they are as a person. So anyways, just before this interview, I had one of these similar junkets a week before and my wall was white. And everyone in that room was like, oh, Scott, look at your house. You look at you getting your passport taken. There's nothing on the walls. So that like all these like media people from America were just putting shit on me. So I was like, got to change that. So the next week I had this big shelf with all these little like vases. There's like picture frames. So I'm reading this about Seinfeld going, oh my God, I've got an interesting wall. I'm about to interview him. He's going to hate it. So as soon as that opened up, I was just like, Jerry, this is fake, by the way. I just installed it for this interview. What do you think? And then he just started slamming me. He was like, looks like a girl designed it. Did a girl design it? And I was like, I designed it. And then it was a nice icebreaker. So that helped me. Long or the short, we spent 3.5 minutes of our 7-minute interview talking about what we could see in each other's houses. He's like, well, what do you think of my house? And I started breaking it down. And I've got my producer texting me on my phone going, move it along. Like, you haven't asked one question about his Netflix special. And I'm like, it's Seinfeld. You don't have to talk to him about anything. Talking to him about nothing is the best sort of interview. So that was probably my highlight of COVID so far, was talking to Seinfeld.
Is it better than, mate, is it better than, I enjoyed Fran Drescher. For me, that was like, you know, you got her, there's a little flirting going on there with Franny.
Oh, well, look, I went down to Kmart 15 minutes beforehand and put a turtleneck on to look like Mr. Sheffield, because sure, you and I we're in the Great Air Club.
Oh, like, please, you're nowhere.
Mate, I've just had a shower, so it's a little bit wet, but they're definitely there. They're definitely there.
Okay.
So I was going to play the part of him. Yeah, doing a little bit of role play for Fran or Miss Fine. She was loving that. You got to think, it's so restricting right now. Look at all of us. And look at everyone doing Instagram Live. Look at everyone doing Zoom interviews at the moment. It's so restricting, like, what you can do. You can basically ask questions, but I find you've got some of the most talented people in the world bored at home. If you give them a platter to play with you, they actually really want to play. The problem for me is getting permission from their team, because they're so protected over here, especially in America, where it's like, everything needs to be pre-approved 2 days, 3 days in advance, and you come up with your best ideas a minute before.
What happens if you do something that's not pre-approved? It's live, right?
No, those aren't live. The Instagram lives, they're obviously live. So that's fine, and I've had some hard words from our team at E going, that wasn't on the script, and I'm like, I know, but if I ask and get told no, so I'll just do it live, and then we'll see what happens. But I'm never going to make talent at that level be uncomfortable or make them say something stupid. I know how the game works, and it's all about making them look amazing. But I suppose with the Fran one, that was pre-recorded, so you can play to an extent, and if it doesn't work out, well, then they can always go. I remember I was interviewing. Look at me now. Sorry, guys. It's all about me. One more, and then I'll show you.
We'll edit most of this out anyway, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look at you guys. You're like, what a wanker.
Tell us more about your life in New York.
Yeah, one more name drop.
New York, Scott. Tell us about New York.
My final name drop. In COVID, interviewed Chris Hemsworth, and the E team were like, get us a soundbite on Liam, because Liam had just broken up with Miley Cyrus. She was in Byron Bay. So I had this beautiful path of questions to finally get to, like, hinting about Liam. So it was about, you know, the film, and then I was talking about his director, and then his director's also in Byron Bay, and then I was like, let's talk about surfing. Are you surfing much? And then I was like, is Liam the greatest uncle of all time, or is he just a terrible surfer when it comes to your kids? And that was like my line to get the hook that he wanted. And it cut out. And then a producer butted into the room and was like, sorry, Scott, we couldn't hear you. Can you go again? And I was like, oh, man, they vetoed me. Like, they've cut, you know, because it's obviously off limits. So I got really rattled, and I was like, so, you know, you're looking forward to your next project? Like, moving on. But it was a legit glitch with my internet. I didn't know this. So I missed, like, the opportunity, and the reason E were like, can you interview him? We want a soundbite for Liam. And, yeah, I didn't get it. So, yeah.
And that's why you've been fired and you're moving to LA now. They've gotten rid of you, and you're on the scrap.
That's what they've axed the shows, and that's the reason why.